everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Coacher Scout. I'm your host, Niket Harun. A healthy mind is crucial for our well being. All day long, we hear voices inside of our head. We have conversation with ourselves from minutes we wake up and until we go back to the bed. So, today's topic is all about listening your inner voice. And our guest of today has her own story of transformation and wants to share some secrets of keeping yourself motivated. Let's welcome Marita Matake. Hi, Marita. How are you today?
Hi, hello everyone. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for joining us today. Okay, Marita. So
Okay.
tell our audience more about you and can you share about your journey where you are today?
Okay, sure. First of all, thank you for the invite.
You're
I'm
welcome.
really happy to have this conversation with you. I'm from Bucharest in Romania. I've been a coach for the past 2 years. I did my coach training at Coachville.
Mhm.
It's one of the first coaching schools in the world, and I'm really proud to be part of that community. Um, what else? Uh, so this is kind of the basic information about me, about my
Mhm.
coach training. Um, I'll let you ask the questions if there's something more to.
Yeah, no worries. I will just dig in more to get more answers. So, what is coaching to you?
So as a coachee, coaching for me was about transformation, about action.
Mhm.
It was what helped me go from being inside my head to creating in the outside world. It
Mhm.
helped me go from having many ideas and not knowing what to do with them or where to start to actually creating something and taking action. So for me, that is what coaching is. And it's amazing that I went to that place um, by finding my inner strength without having to go so much in the outside world. And I think that's amazing about coaching, that the coach is there to actually help, like holding a mirror to actually show you, look how amazing you are. Accept that and use it to create.
Mhm. What a beautiful and amazing answer you have just given to me. I feel like there is a story behind it. So I would like to know how you fell into the coaching business.
Um, so I discovered coaching as a process. I think it was 2 years and a half, maybe 3 years ago. I had been going to therapy as a client for, I think, 3 years at that point, and I just felt like I needed to take a break. Just I felt like everything that I had explored in therapy needed to just settle down, and I needed to process it. And during that break, I discovered coaching, and it was like exactly what I needed because I had done all that work in therapy and I didn't really know how to use all that insight I had done in therapy. And therapy to me was something that brought me from the past to the present. And coaching took me from the present and into the future, like having that perspective over my dream and over the future. And that is how I discovered coaching. And then doing the process of coaching, I realized, wait, this is how I want to help people as well. And then I started my training and so on.
So your realization have bring you to the coaching. Okay,
Yeah.
so I would like to know like how do you help your clients or the people around you?
Um, so that's cliche as that might sound. I usually help them help themselves
Mm-hmm.
because I once had a teacher say that, all people in personal development businesses are actually saviors. They just want to save the world in some way. So they become professional saviors so that they can save the world in a healthy way and not
Mm-hmm.
in I need to save people. And so I'm all about helping people, but helping them help themselves. So I usually help them find resources within themselves and all the superpowers that maybe they don't know they have yet, and all the ways that they can use their inner strength to pursue their dreams.
Mm-hmm. So it's like you're giving me a wings to fly now as a coach.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
It's like you already have all the pieces of the puzzle. I'm just
Yeah.
there to help you put them together.
Yeah. And create a beautiful image in your mind so you can
Yeah.
do it. So how long you have been in coaching role?
Um, so all in all, with my coaching process for nearly 3 years now.
Wow. And what is motivation to you?
Motivation is, I used to think that motivation before, coaching and just shifting my mindset. I used to think that motivation was something that you were just born with, or something that some people had and others didn't, and they had to artificially create it. It was something that you just woke up in the morning with, and that was it. And now I feel like motivation is such a complex concept. It first comes with acceptance, first of all, with what you can do and what you can't do. I think it's really important to accept your limitations before anything. And once you do that, there's nothing stopping you, because the more you fail to accept them, the more you are um, likely to fall into, traps.
Yeah.
So it
Like a
comes with
denial
acceptance.
mode. Yeah, like the person stays
Yeah,
in a denial
yeah,
mode. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's acceptance is knowing your why, knowing your dream. I think what I've noticed in coaching and even in my own process, the biggest thing that was stopping me, and I said I had no motivation because I didn't know my why. I didn't have a clear image of my dream. So knowing where you're going is like, okay, if I want to go to the seaside or if I want to travel, I need to know where I'm heading. I might not know the exact route I'm taking, and that's okay, but I need to know where I want to be getting at. So acceptance, knowing your why, um, embracing the fact that you create your own reality. So anything you want to happen in the outside world is completely up to you. That doesn't mean controlling what happens in the outside world. It means that whatever happens, you choose how you position yourself towards that situation, and you choose how to proceed. So motivation is a combination of all of this. And it's definitely something flowing. It's not like you get motivation and you're here all the time. No, sometimes it's here, sometimes it's here. But in the end, it's all about accepting the imperfections, right? So you're not going to feel 100% motivated every day. And that's also okay. And sometimes you're willing to do more, and sometimes you're willing to do less. But that's also a choice.
That's true.
So, yeah,
So it's
it's
like
something complex. Yeah.
so it's like those inner voices and gut feeling are inner guides that we all have, and we have the power to
Mm-hmm.
allow it to lift us up or push us down.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
simultaneously it happens with everyone. So I want to know, like, what are the causes of limiting beliefs, or what makes a person to limit themselves with these beliefs?
Mm. Um, so, people talk about limiting beliefs, and I think the general consensus is that the limiting beliefs are ideas and beliefs that we take from the environment around us or from our experiences. Something at some point didn't go the way we planned it to. Our brains will tell us, okay, we're not good at this, or maybe I should stop trying. Maybe I will never get it right. And it's like a story that if you repeat it enough, it will become your reality. So that's why they say that your mind can be both an ally or an enemy, because you choose the thoughts that you nurture. And that's also a choice. So in the end, it's also a question of choice. Limiting beliefs are there, and the first step is identifying them, because most of the times we're not even aware. I mean, I have moments when I am completely convinced that, oh, there's no limiting belief here. And then I explore it with my coach or with my therapist. And then it's something so subtle and so hidden behind a situation that I would never figure out. That the first step, that's why it's very important to identify them, to have the awareness of the limiting belief, and then start creating a new belief and start finding evidence of the contrary.
Mm-hmm.
But usually we get them from experience, from our environment, from the people in our world, in our universe that we trust. And at some point, they give us feedback or criticize us that doesn't really help us. So we store that information and turn it into a limiting belief.
Mm-hmm.
But that is,
yeah.
I think it's also important to acknowledge the fact that limiting beliefs are a form of protection. It's like, okay, if I put my hand on the hot stove, my brain is going to store the information that putting my hand on the hot stove is not okay, so that it will protect me in the future from such situations. So limiting beliefs are defense mechanisms, survival mechanisms. So it's not about dismissing them altogether. It's about acknowledging where they first came from, what they protected me from, and are they still applicable now? It's like, okay, I go to war, I put on my armor, but then if the war ends, I don't really need my armor anymore. So it's time to take it off. It's the same with the limiting beliefs.
So for me, basically, I feel like it's a kind of a combo, which is like the perception of the outer world and your own reality. So you just create one of the belief with the both thing, like the way you just said, experience and sometimes your inner voice, environment you are living in, so that outer environment as well. So how can a person have more self-awareness in his or her life?
So unfortunately, that's not a 3 steps or a 3 week situation like magic recipe. Do this program 12 weeks and it's boom.
Yeah.
I think this is a lifelong process. This is definitely the personal work is probably the hardest, but also most satisfying. It's definitely a long-term process. And in the beginning, it might seem like it's not worth it because it brings up so many stuff, it's like digging and you uncover things that you might not be ready to face or accept about yourself. So it's definitely, I'd say the combination therapy plus coaching is always ideal, because sometimes in coaching, I mean, we can explore emotional situations, we can explore trauma, we can explore any given topic, but we can only explore it in coaching up to a certain point. So I think in this process of personal work and personal awareness, this combination of therapy and coaching, and also the work that you do with yourself. So if we work in coaching on a topic and then you go back and you do things the same, that's obviously not going to make any difference. So it's all about the intention. How intentional is this desire to actually know yourself and accept yourself? Because sometimes we don't even want to do that, because we create such an unpleasant image about ourselves, the things we tell ourselves, that we're not really ready to face that. Because until we get to the actual image of ourselves, we have to go through the wall that we created.
So I just heard you once we were starting the interview, you just said I have been like I have experienced the therapy and the coaching as well. So what do you feel like how they are different from each other?
So for me personally, if I make a parallel between the two, therapy for me was, I have this problem or this is happening.
Yeah.
And in therapy, I go and explore, why is this happening? Whereas in coaching, I say, okay, this is happening. And I don't question why is this happening. The question is, okay, what do I do with what is happening? And how do I choose to move forward, considering that this is happening? So I think in coaching, it's not so much. So it is worth to explore as well why it's happening, but only if that exploration will bring me resources or will help me create strategies to avoid this situation in the future. Whereas in therapy, we explore very profoundly why that situation happens. It's about understanding the, let's say, the origin of the situation in therapy, whereas in coaching it's about creating the resources and the strategy to avoid or to better manage similar situations in the future.
So, how does a person feel once they walk from unconsciousness to consciousness? Like how they manifest this transition?
I'd say it depends with each person. It can manifest differently. For some, it can look like a really amazing process. For some, it can look like a really awful process. For example, when I started my coach training, I had already had my experience with my therapy process, and I thought, okay, so personally, I am at a certain level, so I'm just going to add to that. But what actually happened was when I started my coach training, I realized how much more I still had to work with myself. And at first that brought up a lot of doubts, like, oh, will I be able to do this? Am I qualified to do this? Am I actually the right person to be having conversations with people if I still have to do so much work with myself? And that wasn't really that fun because it brought a lot of questions, a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety. But speaking of motivation, I knew that this was my calling. I knew that this was something that really brought me satisfaction. And knowing that I could help people help themselves was what kept me going until I moved past that phase. So that's why I say that it can look differently. For some, it can actually be like, okay, moving from a dark place to the light and just completely enjoying. And for some, it can be it's completely depends on where in your personal transformation process you are.
Sounds nice to me. But there are some people who, after even having that consciousness, stays in denial mode. So I want to know, does rejecting or wrestling with your own inner voice creates any kind of a mental health issues as well?
I think first of all it creates conflict. And conflict usually manifests through anxiety. In extreme cases, it can go to depression as well. And actually, somatic experiences, that usually all issues manifest in the body. That's actually one of my, let's say, sensors. When I know that, I'm struggling with maybe I don't know what choice to make in a situation or something feels off, I usually turn to my body. I take time, I meditate and see, okay, what is the signal? And that's usually a signal that something is off and I need to reevaluate and see what it is actually that I want to do. So I think that the first, let's say, unpleasant thing that happens when you stop listening to what you really want and you start relying very much on what you should be doing or what the world thinks you should be doing, or is this okay, is this not okay? But the question is okay or not for who, for whom. So that creates a lot of conflict because it's you or the voice, and the voice you have to identify whose voice is that, because that's
Yeah.
usually either society or, you know, someone that you look up to and they share this opinion. So that creates a lot of conflict, and of course it can generate anxiety and stress and maybe physical illness and all that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it can lead to that.
Yeah. And we all are like having a lot of even peer pressures as well to compete, to influence, to move forward,
Oh,
to get
definitely.
and achieve the things. So let's talk about you. There's an audience question for you now. What are your own motivational factors in life?
Um, so I think my biggest motivation is that I only get to live once.
Mm,
You know, that's a cliche, but knowing that this moment will never repeat itself, and
mm,
knowing that I have to choose what I do with this moment. Of course, that doesn't mean that every moment I'm going to choose to, I don't know, do something completely amazing. Like every day I'm going to, I don't know, discover the cure for an incurable disease. It's not about that. It's about consciously and completely aware choosing what to do with your time. And
mm,
if that is, you are okay with that. And at the end of the day, you don't feel like, oh my God, this is a day that I wasted, or oh, I wanted to do so much and yet I didn't do anything. Then that was time well spent.
mm,
And it doesn't matter how you spend it if you're happy with it. So for me, that is the biggest motivation, that I get to choose what I do with my time. And I can't blame anyone else if I choose not to do something, I don't know, creative or something that I'm happy with. And I think the second is the fact that I am the creator of my own reality. So if my reality, I'm not happy with it, then it's up to me to change it. I create the things that I have and that I want in my life. So that usually motivates me. If I hear myself and I say, oh my God, this is so bad, or I'm not enjoying this, I say, okay, so what can I do about it? What can I change first with myself? And then what action can I take to change that and to take it to a point where I'm satisfied with it? So
mhm.
those are usually my two biggest motivation factors.
Amazing. So I just love the way you just said like one life and you need to enjoy as much as you want. And you should have that self-realization where you can create your own action plans to move forward,
Mhm.
to make it more better. So, what advice you would like to give to our audience today?
So I think my biggest advice comes from actually the name of my coaching program. It's how to live your life like it's the best summer ever.
Mm,
So that is my biggest advice. Imagine the best summer ever that you've had. You know, the freedom, the idea that you could do anything that you imagine, the possibility, the you know, lack of pressure, the inner freedom that you sensed, you know, feeling like you could say or do anything you wanted,
mm,
express yourself, be authentic. How can you live every day of your life in that energy? What do you need to change now? What can you change now? The tiniest step that you can take to live your life like that, and not
mm.
wait for the summer to actually feel free and like you can do
Waste your
anything and
time.
have fun. Or
Yeah.
yeah, just, you know, there's 4 seasons in a year, but you can live them each day, you can live it like that. So that's my biggest advice.
Mm. Thank you for sharing such an amazing advice today. Now I would like to know like how people can contact you or approach you if they want to have a session with you.
Okay. So first of all, I have exploratory sessions. So those are exploratory sessions as usually free. So it's like a preview, we connect, we know each other, and then we both decide if it's the right thing to move forward. So I think that's a good way to explore if this is the right coaching program for you. And they can find me on my website at marietamatake.com. Or they can find me on Facebook and Instagram. I will share this information in my bio, so they will have the connection that I had there. Yeah.
I will just keep your email ID so people can email you once they want to have a session with you, and we can take it from there. Okay, so thanks a lot for joining us today, Marieta, and thank you everyone who have joined us today. If you're new to our channel, please like and subscribe, and make sure to write the comments if you would like to give us a feedback. See you next week with another coach. So thank you very much, and stay tuned.
Thank you.